James here with Industrial. We're getting into section 2 of 3 of our 3-part interview with Mitch Free. We're going to get into the great disruption and what it's going to mean to your business as you try to manufacture your future. Coming up. In terms of like that capital equipment investment, and assuming it is a tool for these custom manufacturers out there, should they be getting in now on that capital equipment purchase? You know, as you start to see, you know, there's obviously rapid development of machine tools. Like machine tools right now in CNC sense, you know, I've spoken to some, you know, leaders in that segment, and they said, hey, you're going to see incremental change at this point with CNC machining, but 3D printing is different, right? So it's like buying that, you know, that model car that's going to have a massive upgrade. Like you still have that ability in 3D printing, I would imagine. So where should they be in looking at that, like capital, you know, investment? Because custom manufacturers know if I buy that piece of equipment, I can make money off of that. But again, like if you start to look at where that technology is in metal, is that necessarily the case? When do they trigger that decision?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think that's a question nobody knows if you had a good crystal ball, right? but I think you do need to make some investment wisely, and because you need to be learning. You know, you can't wait until the market is fully ready and has adopted, and then you decide to get in the game. It's too late. Because there is a learning curve, right? And the learning curve isn't how to create the file, put it in the printer. So that's around the applications and what it can do and where it's a good fit, where it isn't, where to combine it with another technology such as machining. You know, and then start talking to your customers about it. Because I think one of the things I find is when we have the capability, we discuss it with our customers, then their mind starts to turn about applications. And I wonder if I could redesign this part. I wonder if I could combine these 4 parts into one part by doing it with additive. And that's where the real benefit comes to the customer, is from doing things that they couldn't do traditionally. Because if people think of additive manufacturing as replacing machining or injection molding, it's not. The quality isn't there, the cost isn't there, the economic isn't there. But if you think about redesigning something with taking all of your preconceived notions about manufacturing and design it with no limitations, and you come up with something that's really unique. Great example is what GE did with their fuel nozzle for the LEAP engine. They designed it with little venturis going through the part, right? And so when the fuel goes through, it atomizes better than they've ever seen before. They're getting 18-20% fuel savings. That's a big number. Right? So by leveraging the no tax for complexity, they're monetizing it in a totally different way, the more efficient engine. Right?
And you know, I think there was that contest that was cited in the book where I think it was a young Indian engineer came into, I think it was GE did a contest for, it was a mount, engine mount, was it? I believe?
Yeah, it was actually a lifting hook for like lifting the engine off of the airplane when they change it. Yeah. Well, it wasn't a flying part, but
and that was a game changer, because that I think he won the kind of global competition and really kind of set off some alarms. Like,
So I mean, one of the real challenges that people have when they start designing and thinking about additive manufacturing is they're in their mind they're constrained with what they've been taught all their life about machining and molding and fabrication. And you can't do this, and so when they do additive, there is no limitation. And so we actually see that some of the younger folks that don't have manufacturing training, that are more artistic in nature, they're actually better designers for additive.
You know, if you're a maker, right, and you're like an artisan maker, and you know you're selling on Etsy, it's like that's kind of like where things start. They start with it's highly bespoke, and then it goes to and they're trying to figure out, how do I bridge to manufacturing? How do I take it and produce at scale? And then obviously the technology is saying, hey, how can we customize that? Because now Etsy is the place you go where you download a file and you print it somewhere. You know, so it's really interesting to see.
Speaking of that, I do believe there is a day where you will download files from Amazon and you will print them on a home printer or a printer up the street at a UPS location or something and get your product. I do believe that inventories and warehouses will dramatically shrink, and people will take advantage of on-demand, and what they're selling you is a digital file.
So with that being said, and again, how does a manufacturer grow? How does a custom manufacturer grow? Industrial distribution is going to change big time from that. They're going to be in the printing business.
I think they're going to be in the printing business. I absolutely do. And I think, if you think about old, appliances or anything that has a lot of spare parts, at some point things become obsolete. They stop servicing them. Maybe it's because they want to sell new ones, or maybe it's because of just end of life on the tooling and it's cost too much to set up to make more, etc. But I think I can envision a model, sort of like an iTunes store where you buy files or buy the right to use a file, but what you're buying is the right to print the file. So maybe you go on to this service and you search for XYZ knob for your whatever device. Oh, there it is. There's the file. And then when you buy it, you check out. You have an option to have it printed at one of 7 locations, or print it yourself and have it come to you. And I think the inventory world is going to become very virtual. I think it's definitely impact warehousing logistics.
We're in Nashville, so the music industry has been affected by that model. It's the Spotify model.
It has.
You pay for access instead of ownership. So as we look at like the manufacturing equipment side of this equation and how they, as let's say a supplier OEM or heavy equipment provider, look at this issue. Are you seeing that same thing happening where they're not selling their machine tools anymore? They're selling access to that machine tool or licensing it versus actually purchasing it? And are you seeing some of the models of these kind of machining as a service start? Has there been anything in the marketplace you've seen around that yet?
But I have seen companies that are doing machines as a service. Mm-hmm. So where you don't actually buy the machine, you I guess you call it leasing it maybe, but you pay for it as you use it with a minimum usage guarantee. So you're required to use it a certain amount, you pay for it if you don't. And then as you burst and you go to higher more usage, you pay on demand for that. And a lot of these models include maintenance, include materials, include all sorts of stuff. So I think innovation around business models is becoming really, really interesting. So around machine tools, around printers, I think all sorts of models to help offset capital equipment costs.
We work with a company called Video Gaming Technology. They're like I think the year before we worked with them, they were the #1 fastest growing company in the Inc. 500 plus 8,000% growth. And they made this equipment for the gaming industry, for the Indian casino dynamics and laws. And so they basically had a model where they got paid every pull of the slot machine or the button press of that video game. And so they provided the equipment, they provided the experience, and they provided all the full maintenance, repair, and operations of that.
Yeah.
So do you think it gets that deep in the machining side? Do you see that companies going to that level? You see it even in a Volvo car. It's a car you don't own, you kind of subscribe to.
Yeah, definitely I see that. Yeah, it's happening today.